Welcome in. I am the Crypto Bull God, and this is all on the charts. If you appreciate the content, make sure to give me a thumbs up. Drop me a comment. Click the bell icon for notifications to know when I go live every single weekday, typically between 5 and 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, although that time can vary. That's why it's important that you subscribe to the channel and you click the bell icon for all notifications. That is what you want to make sure that you click. Guys, you can find me on Twitter, you can find me on YouTube, you can even find me on Instagram, you can find me on TradingView. One word, it is Crypto Bull God. You can see it right here. There's no underscores, none of that funny business. There's often imitators, but there is only one Crypto Bull God. So, YC, what's going on, brother? Glad to see you here. Alex, Wen Moon, got to talk to the crypto gods on that one, but I think things are going to get very spicy here coming up over the course of the next 6 months or so. So we shall see if the market is going to do what fewest participants think that the market is going to do. As I reiterated on yesterday's channel, I had all that time to myself on the road driving, trying to catch up on financial, economic news, crypto news, and a couple things were solidified for me. Number one, most people think that the Federal Reserve is going to increase interest rates this year. And you know that I don't believe that based on 70 years of empirical data. And two, most people believe in this 4-year cycle, Bitcoin has already topped out, or Bitcoin is going to top out somewhere in the 40,000 range. We're just going to give some nice accumulation going into the halvening, and we're just going to do this 4-year thing because that's what assets do. They do the same thing every 4 years, right? So that is the herd mentality right now. We're going to have to see how things play out. Kathleen, good to see you in here. You are the enforcer. I expect nothing less of you. Glad to see you back on the live stream. I wanted to get into a few things today. We're just going to start running right into everything and not get into the niceties of asking how everyone is doing today. So a couple quick things that I wanted to point out. Where should I start? You know where I actually want to start? I want to start with this. I want to start with this chart. So this is a weekly view on Bitcoin. Now, one of the things to keep in mind, and I've stated this on this channel many, many times, there are many other value-added technicians in this space that are going to aid your development and your investment strategy, right? Number one, the onus falls on you, as I always say, to do your own education and research. You should never fully rely on anyone, including myself. That's the worst advice anyone could give you, is to rely 100% on someone else. But you should do your own due diligence, and you should utilize individuals like myself, technicians in the space. And the thing that you need to understand as you're sort of acquiring data is that as value added as a technician can be, technicians get right calls and wrong calls, right? That's the way life works. There's nobody out there that's going to get 100% correct calls, right? But the people who are very grounded and logical and come up with things based on empirical data, I think that's the word for the day, empirical data. Those, in my opinion, are the technicians that you need to pay closest attention to. And one of the technicians who I really value, not just in crypto, but he also analyzes the stock market as well. And a lot of the way he comes across in his videos and his viewpoints really resonate with me. It's Alessio Rastani. Okay, Alessio Rastani. Maybe someday if my channel makes it big, I could do a collaboration with him and have him on the channel. That'd be pretty cool because I respect his technical analysis. Anyway, if you actually go back to a video that was dated at this point in time, it looked like it was about mid to late November of 2020. If you go back to that video, what he was saying when Bitcoin was around $16,000, he came up with an analysis to say that Bitcoin was going to, essentially his view was Bitcoin was going to sort of top out in the $21,000 to $23,000 range before having a serious correction. And that 21 to 23,000 range would represent a mass area of euphoria. People would be buying in. It would be a mistake, right? Well, he was proven incorrect, right? You can see this is the time zone. He said sometime between January and May, if you go back to that video from a couple years ago, Bitcoin would be in this area, right? You can see that we blew right past $20,000 and went straight up to $64,000, okay? I was also incorrect when we bypassed $20,000. I thought, very logically, that Bitcoin, once it passed $20,000, would come back and back test its prior all-time high, which was technically at 19,666. Gotta love that 666 number. But basically $20,000. That never happened. As soon as we cleared all-time highs, which it would have been with this candlestick here, this weekly candlestick in mid-December, you can see that the price just continued. Struggling right now. The struggle is real. Here we go. You can see that price just continued going up massively before we got any retest of any prior areas of price confluence. Okay, so I was incorrect in that assertion. And so what can we learn from this? What can we learn from prior wrong calls? As see Ncash is in the house. Very good to see Nick in the house. Welcome in, my friend. Jorge, constant supporter, what's up? Yeah, so what can we learn from this, though? There's a couple things that I want you guys to take away from this, okay? First off, you have to be prepared for every single scenario that could occur, right? You sort of have to formulate in your head what are the most and least likely probabilities or directions for price, and how am I going to respond accordingly, right? So in the case of my incorrect opinion or educated view, very common, once we break a prior area of resistance, we come back, we back test it, right? I've spoken to that many times. What are you going to do in the situation where we don't come back and back test a prior area of resistance that should now be support in some bullish upwards momentum? Are you going to chase price? Are you going to wait for price to come back to you to accumulate more? And what are going to be your sell targets ultimately? If you're looking to get out of an investment, you really need to be prepared for all of the different outcomes that can occur with the charts. Because again, all we're doing as value-added technicians in this space is we're coming up with probabilistic views, right? I use that word probability a lot, okay? All we're doing is we're using all of this past and present data to formulate what we think is most and least likely, right? Wow, we got a love affair going on between Kathleen and Jorge. Glad to see I accomplished something with this channel. I managed to hook two people up virtually. That's great. You guys should exchange numbers offline, and maybe you can get something going on there. I'm all for that. Ding, ding, ding. It's the same sort of commentary that I would point to with this correction, okay? This correction here threw me off, this expanded flat correction. And I know I've probably triggered a lot of people. By the way, thank you to everyone new giving me a follow on Twitter. If anybody's here, I'm bumping up slightly on the Twitter followers, up to 13.2. I know this is going to trigger a lot of people, but this is really a main chart in terms of why I believe that we're going to see new all-time highs this year, okay? There's a lot of people picking to specific pricing action that takes place during halving date, and that is a one chart that they look at. This is an Elliott wave structure here, and I'm going to go to a related video in a moment here and share Alessio's view from a couple years ago that's actually very relevant for today, that we're going to coincide with this chart. But an Elliott wave in general, guys, I have done some studying of Elliott waves, and I have a very good basic understanding of what Elliott waves are. I am not a master Elliott wave technician. I've alluded to this last year, that one of the things on my educational list to get better with and actually take some classes on are Elliott waves. It's something that was on my list for this year. These past couple years haven't turned out the way I would have expected, so something on my list, whether it's 2024 or 2025. But I do want to become a very proficient Elliott wave technician. But I understand enough about Elliott waves that I can comment on the general structure that you see within an Elliott wave. An Elliott wave is comprised of three major impulse waves, okay, to the upside, your 1, 3, and 5. There are two corrective waves, 2 and 4. Each of the 1, 3, and 5 waves, they actually have 5 waves contained with them to the upside. And each corrective wave structure, your 2 and 4, they are comprised of 2 major waves that are corrective in nature. They are your A, B, and C. So you can see back in 2019, we formulated this one wave movement up. We had an ABC correction down to wave 2. We formulated this huge wave up to wave 3. There are 5 waves accounted for in here. And then this is what really threw me off. This is an irregular correction that occurs within an Elliott wave sometimes. This is known as an expanded flat correction. And the way it throws people off is that this B, which is part of the correction, typically goes around 5% higher than the 3 wave, which is actually what happened, okay? So if you actually measure the move, this 69 is roughly 5% above this 64.9 or wherever this was at, okay? So this ABC is an expanded flat correction. It's our wave 4. We're still waiting for this wave 5 impulse. Been talking about this forever. And again, my primary hypothesis is, and if you go back in history, this is a fact. When we start the impulse and we get parabolic price action within Bitcoin, it takes everyone by surprise. There's virtually no one calling for it, okay? If we were calling for it, if most of us were, we would all be millionaires and we wouldn't be running the rat race of the 9 to 5, right? So most people do not anticipate this wave coming in. It's going to get very interesting once we get up to the mid to low 40,000 range. I will be very active on Twitter, acknowledging the people who are 4-year cycle theorists, commenting that they should be tweeting out they're selling a majority or at least a significant portion of their Bitcoin, because their belief is that we're going to top out somewhere in the low to mid 40s and then we're just going to trail off and correct for the next 6 months before the halving, okay? That is not my view. I'm very, very open to the idea that this blow off top may not come in until closer to the halving, because my view ultimately on the halving, given all of the herd mentality that's out there about this halving just being this monumental event, it is going to be a major sell the news event in my opinion. So I'm very open to the idea that we actually have our blow off top more towards March or April. However, my primary hypothesis that I'm sticking to, which I've had since October, I think I've publicly stated since October of last year, is that we're going to see our blow off top this year. Okay, and it's going to take people very much by surprise. I want to go back, same technician. This is Alessio Rastani. This is a video that he had put out, okay? This is a video that he had put out in, roughly 2 years ago, okay? He has his wave counts out here, and you can see his 1, his 2, his 3, and his 4 and 5 coincide with me, except with one caveat. When he was making the video, he was under the assumption, like I was, that the wave 4 correction had completed here and we were undergoing our 5th wave movement up here that would have taken us over $100,000 in 2022, like I had been theorizing. By the end, I said late 2021, early 2022. That's not what happened. Now, he has not released an updated video, but this video is still very relevant to the current times. The only thing that has changed with it is this 4th corrective wave structure was not as simplistic in nature as it typically is. It was more of an irregular correction, which was the expanded flat correction I just went over. So if we sort of expanded this out, we came up here and then down, and now we're still waiting for this 5th wave impulse. This wave structure that he has drawn out, which is the same wave structure I have drawn out, has not been invalidated, guys. It's not been invalidated. So I'm also open to the idea that I could be completely wrong. Elliott wave does not need to pan out. Nothing in charting is 100%. I could be completely incorrect and this thing could fall apart. But based on the symmetry of this and based on decades and decades and decades and decades and decades of price data that has led us to formulate this Elliott wave structure, it leaves me feeling convicted we're still waiting for another impulse up. Not to mention the market sentiment, guys. Again, it benefits you often to really challenge the majority line of thinking. If you were in the majority line of thinking, okay, if you were in the herd mentality, if you were on YouTube, okay, if you were on YouTube during this time frame, go back, guys. I was constantly tweeting about the fear porn that was out there. There were numerous thumbnails out there that fed into your emotions so they could get clicks. Someone commented to me on Twitter that I tweeted this out for engagement. Anybody who knows me personally knows that's the furthest thing from the truth. I would never tweet something out for engagement. It goes against my integrity. I tweet things out that I believe in. But there are people that put out a lot of thumbnails, a lot of content just to garner attention, just to get clicks. And if you go back to this time period when the emotions, think about this. Go back to the time period if you can, even though you don't want to. Go back to the time period in late 2021 in particular. Okay, excuse me, late 2022, all right? There was a lot of fear. And the easiest thing to do for content creators was to latch onto that narrative so that it fed into your emotions. They want you to click on their videos. They want their surprising looks of their faces as they're saying Bitcoin is going to 10,000, 5,000. You know, I pointed out, I typically don't like to name channels, but one channel that really turned me off, that I've commented a lot of support for over the years and I've turned people to, that I've now completely unsubscribed to, Data Dash. You know, Data Dash, I don't know what the hell happened to his channel, but dude was putting out fear porn all the time, in my opinion. And it's very irritating to me whether a channel is full of hopium and they're putting out XRP going to 1 million, or you have Data Dash putting out fear porn thumbnails of Bitcoin going to 10,000 or below, right? There are other people who I'm not going to name as well that were constantly talking about Bitcoin going to sub 10,000 and going to 5,000, right? Again, feeding into your emotions, right? We're going to get to a state in the market soon, in my opinion, as we begin to come up here. Remember what my mom said, okay? My mom is the best representation of retail. She is not interested in Bitcoin until 50,000. There are a lot of people, as Bitcoin starts to get up to 50,000 and it breaks it, they're going to start getting into it here. And they're really going to start getting into it here once we break 69,000, okay? It's going to be all over the news. That's when you want to get cautious. That's when I'm telling you, you better have a game plan at that point. You should have a game plan today in terms of how you want to scale out of your investment, because in my opinion, the other thing I've stated to you, and we'll take a closer look at this once we actually do top out, there is going to be a massive correction after that. I've constantly said on this channel, I've constantly said on Twitter, I've constantly said to my friends and family, melt up before melt down. Okay, melt up before melt down. Let's see the comments here. What do we got going on? Oh, you couldn't see the fifth wave. It's behind your camera. Your camera video is blocking important price and graphs on the top right corner. For future videos, can you move the camera to the bottom right? So I've shifted my camera around so many damn times, and I'm very open. I'm very open to shifting this around. I think one thing I might do, let me try this. One thing I could do is actually shift the price data. See how the price data is here? I could actually shift it to the left. For purposes of today's video, let me try this. Let me know if that works better. So hopefully, I've shifted around the camera so many times. What's up, Rashid? Let me go back to the video here, because apparently I was blocking it. My apologies. Again, this is Alessio's Elliott wave count. And the thing that I really importantly want to point out to you, there's two important things that I want to point out to you. Number one, his Elliott wave count here, the 1, 2, 3, and 4 coincide with mine, right? And we're missing a fifth wave. The second thing that I want to point out to you that's very important, even though this was made at a point in time when this fourth expanded flat correction here, this wave 4 had not completed, okay? The fact that that expanded flat panned out, it did not invalidate the structure. We're still waiting for a fifth wave. I've been saying this for a long time. We're still waiting for a fifth wave, okay? So that's what I wanted to point out. My camera should not be blocking the way now. All right, let's get that out of the way. What's up, Vivek? Let's see what other comments we have here. Crusader raid. Glad to see new people in the house. I very much appreciate that. Let me turn on the light here. I can see the camera's a little dim. Apologies for that. Also wanted to take a moment to speak about Quant in a moment here. I had tweeted out that I established a decently sized position because I think that thing is going to break up. We're going to talk about which direction that thing could go and what's formulating in the chart. All-time highs in 2023 would be insane. Look, AI bags. I agree with you. And by the way, if you're in AI, any crypto AI projects, my opinion is that's going to benefit you because there's going to be a lot of FOMO in that area. Yes, that is what the market is least expecting. How many people do you know are really calling? And keep in mind, crypto Twitter is a very small universe, okay? It's a very small subset of the population. How many people do you honestly know are calling for new all-time highs in 2023? Welcome in, Track. Glad to see you, brother. I mean, there's like nobody calling for that. Please, guys, tell me how you guys got wrecked. It makes me feel good. Look, that correction, that wave 4 really threw me off. Those paper gains. There's a difference between realized gains and paper gains. When you open up your ledger balance, or if you have some on an exchange, although I would encourage you to self-custody the majority of your crypto, when you open up your ledger balance and you're looking at the digital value, that's a paper gain. Once you sell it and it's in your checking account or it's in some sort of a USD account, that's called a realized gain, okay? Learned that the hard way. All right, let's get back to the charts here. So I don't think there's anything else I wanted to point out on Bitcoin. Quant is the other chart that I really wanted to cover here. Let's talk about the formation that's occurring here. So you have two views on this chart, okay? You could look at this from the bearish direction. This, you could say, is a descending triangle. We have lower highs and a flat base here, right? And that is a bearish pattern. If you take the measured move, it's roughly, we'll call the top right here, all the way down to roughly there. So if you believe this thing's gonna break down, we could break all the way down to 50 bucks. And I'll tell you what, even if that happened, if Quant broke down to $50 and we came down here, we would still have higher lows. So it would not be bad for the chart in that respect. However, the thing I would point out to you and why I believe that's not going to happen, twofold, the part of the cycle where the market is at, and the fact that we actually had a rise in price versus a decline in price with the descending triangle, okay? If the descending triangle had occurred after a massive drop in price, then I would be much more inclined to say we're gonna break down. However, we had this monumental rise in price. You could actually call this a flagpole and a pennant here. So I believe we are going to break out, okay? And I've pointed the general expectations for price, and we kind of talked about this before. The other thing I had tweeted out earlier this morning that I wanted to speak to really quick here, guys. History does not repeat, but it often likes to rhyme. This is the Quant BTC relativity chart. It's on a 3-day. You can see after we had a meteoric rise in price and then downward triangular consolidation, we saw a massive breakout. Now we've had some downward sort of triangular formation in consolidation on the way down. Are we going to see another break up? I would argue, based on my expectations for Quant and based on my expectations for the market, yes, we will see some sort of massive breakout starting to formulate towards the latter part of this year. I've already established my position because, again, I don't see this thing breaking down. It could. Don't get me wrong. There is a probability for everything. There's really three main probabilities I see occurring, three main ones that I see occurring. One, we have a fake out to the downside and come down to this area towards 80 bucks and then break back up. Two, we just start to break back up. Or three, we fall apart and we come down to 50 bucks and that descending triangle plays out. Those are the three main scenarios I see playing out. Crypto Ryan is also in the house. I have a bunch of fellow YouTubers here in the house. Crypto Ryan's got a great channel. I think everyone here also knows Encash Official Nick. He has a great channel. I've never met someone that puts that much work into getting so many videos out. That guy churns out so many videos every single day. A lot of hard work, which pays off. What other charts? One other chart I wanted to cover today. Again, this isn't... Once again, I had tweeted this out earlier today. This is why it's important to give me a follow if you're not on Twitter. This is a hysterical video that you should watch at some point. Elon Musk parody account. Listening to Joe Biden attempt to translate... an Asian name. That was pretty hysterical. Again, it's garnered a lot of attention. It's good to see because, quite honestly, it's a very clean chart. But in this tweet here, I had said, is everyone ready for altcoin expansion? What do I actually mean by that? Guys, this is a massive bull flag and this is a falling wedge, okay? Again, I'm not showing you what I hope to see play out in the charts. I'm literally showing you, though, this is a flagpole. This is a this is a flagpole. This is a flag pennant and a falling wedge, and we're just awaiting confirmation of a breakout, guys. I can't make this any more cleaner for you. This is a very, very, very bullish setup, okay? Could we completely fall apart and fall down here? Yeah, of course we could. There's a probability for that, but the probability of completely falling apart here is a lot less than breaking to the upside, okay? So it's just about remaining patient. So many people, it's interesting when you go back on a lot of these charts and you realize how quickly the gains take place in this market. We have long periods of consolidation and correction in the market, and then boom, we're off to the races, and under a relatively short period of time, you can literally make life life-changing gains. And I'm not exaggerating. There's no other market right now that exists that you can make this many life-changing gains than cryptocurrency. Let's take a look at the charts and see what else we'd like to chart based on what's moving here. Guys, one of the things, yes, Nick is a machine. I completely agree. One of the things I like to do, Frankie, I haven't seen you in a while, brother. Glad to see you in the house. One of the things I really like to do on this channel, not a lot moving today. Price is just kind of consolidating, going sideways. I'll probably just talk about Bitcoin one more time on a different time frame here that we generally cover on this channel. Yeah, there really isn't anything moving. Guys, I like to take questions from you. I don't like to just come out here and cover the charts that I personally want to cover. I really value what you are looking at and what is important for you. Of course, I really am in touch with you guys at this point, most of you, and I know what charts you really value. But whatever you would like me to chart, drop it in the chat. We will take a look at it live together. There's only one more chart I wanted to cover, and that is the 12-hour Bitcoin chart. Guys, I know Crypto Ryan is one who's looking for some further consolidation on the Bitcoin chart. I do believe it's very possible to see a drop down to the levels that Crypto Ryan has been speaking to. I believe you said around 28,500, but I don't want to put words in your mouth. I think it's around those levels. The 28,500, 28,200, even 27,500 if we got a spike down there. This coincides with my own personal view in terms of where we could bounce from, which is the 200 simple moving average on the 12-hour, right? If we do fall in price, I think we're going to get eaten alive up by buyers in this region. I'm just using history, guys. For those who have been here for a while, there's a lot of historical significance on this chart no one talks about. It's the 12-hour chart. And where we're in a bullish uptrend, price loves to come down at different points, hit that 200 simple moving average, and then bounce right off of it, okay? So what do I think is going to happen, all right? I definitely think there's a probability that we could break down, but I don't think it's going to happen. I actually think we're going to punch through here. Remember, I said whether it was this week or next week, I believed we would see a large move up in price. I know Credible Crypto, I think, is another one who at this point is expecting most likely a correction down. And again, I'm not saying that can't happen. I'm very definitively saying to you it could happen. I just don't think that that's the path that we're going to take. I'm looking also, the other thing that's very interesting to me that I'm keeping an eye on, the MACD, as you can see, is rounding and starting to flatten and wants to curl up. And usually, not all the time, but usually when we're above zero and we get a positive cross on this MACD, it's been a pretty good indicator that we're going to see some sort of surge in price on this 12-hour chart. So I'm keeping an eye on a pop and break of this 31, roughly, we call it 31.5, 31.6 area. And again, just to kind of reiterate what I mentioned before, once we break out around this 31.5, $32,000 area, I think there's going to be a swift 10% move up to roughly 35.5. This is really the next key area of resistance I'm looking for. I've commented that for the month of July, ideally, if I'm correct in my assertion, that we're going to set new all-time highs this year, and our blow-off top is for Bitcoin's roughly going to come in this year. I really want to see July close up in this area somewhere between 35.5 and 43. I don't want to be hanging out down here in July. I really want to start making some moves. Look at what we've been doing so far. Stair steps. Here's a step, stair step up, okay? And I just want to continue making those stair steps up, and then eventually just start to enter a parabola, right? Right now, we're really gradually building higher highs and higher lows, which are the basic building blocks of a bullish narrative. We're doing it in a very slow, methodical fashion, which is good to see. But again, if we're going to enter that true parabola, okay, if we're going to start to do this, at some point, the stair steps are going to cease, okay? We'll stair step up, but then at some point, we're just going to fucking take off. Okay, that happens every single parabolic rise in price towards new all-time highs. Looks like I have a few questions coming in. Nick agrees that Quan is probably not going to hit 50. Nick's target is 28.3. And again, there's a lot of people calling for the $28,000 area. I think it's very logical. And what I've commented on before, whether it's Crypto Ryan, Credible Crypto, or Ncash, 28.3, 28.5, whatever the heck you're calling for, it lines perfectly up with the 200 simple moving average, which is sitting at, it's going to print at 28.3 after today's 12-hour close, okay? So 28.3 actually lines perfectly up with the 200 simple moving average. Algo BTC swept the lows, close above today. I haven't been charting that, but I did see, man, the Algo chart. I do feel bad for anyone holding Algorand. My honest view, I've shared this before, I always keep things 100% real with you. I think there are 3 buckets of altcoins. You need to check this out on your own altcoins to assess the relative strength. Keep in mind what I'm about to say, because this is my honest opinion, okay, as I always am on this channel. Altcoins created a low in 2022, and there's been 3 scenarios in 2023. We've either created a higher low in 2023, which is the most bullish setup, like Quant has done here. This is the most bullish setup. Scenario 2, which is the next bullish setup, the next bullish is we've double bottomed. We came down and we created a double bottom. Okay, so that's the second most bullish structural setup for altcoins. And the third that isn't as strong is coming down here and setting a new low, like Algorand, right? It's just not as, you're creating new lows. It's not structurally as bullish as the other charts that are creating higher lows or double bottoms, right? So Algorand is one of those ones, unfortunately, that hit a lower low. Okay, Rashid has about 20 charts that he wants me to take a look at. All right, Rashid, we'll see how many of these charts we can take a look at. I appreciate it. Let me see which ones I haven't looked at in a while. ACH we looked at. Man ADA. XLM we've looked at recently. Oh, Mana. Mana we looked at very recently, so we don't need to look at that. ADA, we'll look at ADA. And XLM I looked at recently. Let's take a look at Cardano. I'm sorry. Let's take a look at, do I have Cardano in here? Cardano, no. I don't know if it's Cardano anymore or Cardano. Let's get off the price indicators. This is on a weekly. Now, Cardano, in my opinion, is in the second setup. Okay, so it's the second strongest of the 3 I just identified for altcoins. This is a double bottom. And you would say to me, well, hold on a second, CBG. Look at the low here. We hit 23.9, and here we hit 22. This is essentially a double bottom. Double bottoms, and people get confused by this. A technical double bottom is not a price perfectly hitting what this low was. It's within a stated percentage, 5, 7%, especially with a volatile asset like this. You want to go a little higher than that, 7, 8%. This is still, to me, a double bottom, okay? So it's not the weakest of the 3 that I described, okay? So we've double bottomed our Cardano, which is not such a bad thing. Now what we've done, I don't know why the hell I have this drawn. I don't have the log charts. Apologies for that. I didn't have log or automatic adjustment on there. Yeah, you can see this. To me, this is a double bottom, okay? We came right back up into this area. Now, what do I want to see in the chart ultimately? I mean, we're below all this resistance. This was Rashid. Rashid, we're below all this resistance, right? I don't want to start drifting downwards, because the more we start to drift downwards, the more we entertain going lower towards 20 cents. I want to start pushing up. And my areas of resistance on the way up on the weekly here, you can see, apologies. You can see my areas of resistance here are at roughly 30 cents. And again, we keep things stupid simple on this channel. 30 cents, we're going to call it 35 cents, and 40.5 cents, okay? 30, 35, and 40.5 cents, okay? So we really need to push up above that. Now, once we start pushing up above 40.5 cents, it's all going to be about this swing high here, okay? Taking out this lower high relative to here. So I want to start taking out, roughly 46 cents. Once we get above 40.5 cents, let's take out 46. Once Cardano starts to take out 46 cents, that is when things are going to get very interesting, because now, as we're starting to take out 46 cents, it should be making a swift move up towards this 60 to 66 cent area. So it'll be very interesting, but we just need price to continue churning to the upside. Because one could argue, even though I don't believe this will play out, one could look at this formation and say, you got a bear flag on your hands, right? This entire, I would actually measure the move like this. I mean, technically the pole would be down there, and then the pennant would be like this. If someone said to me, you got to point out the fact that you have a bear pennant, even if you drew it like that, discounting the volatility, I would say you're absolutely correct, okay? And if you measured, yeah, I personally would draw it something like that, just because of all the volatility. So if you said to me, hey, there's a massive bear pennant there, and you measure the rough move of what you could expect, you know, based on the breakdown, wherever we break down, you know, that could put Cardozo all the way down towards 18 cents. Now, is this a valid formation? Abso-fucking-lutely, okay? And I owe it to you to show you this formation. Do I think that this is going to play out? Abso-positively not. Of course, there's a probability for it. It's not as insane as the calls back in 2018 that were calling for a bear flag on Bitcoin when we broke down to 3,200. I was there for that, which would have taken Bitcoin into negative territory, mind you. Pessimism was at an all-time low. That was a major ABC correction on Bitcoin. It's not as foolhardy as that. But while this is a realistic price target, you know, a bear pennant would take us well below 20 cents. I don't think it's going to pan out, though. I think we'll see a recovery here, so we just need to remain patient. Any other question, guys? What other things? Okay, I have a question on H-bar. We actually haven't charted H-bar in a little while. I hold a fat stack of H-bar. I've been holding it for a long time. My H-barbarians, as you can see, very much still believe in the Holy Crypto Trinity. By the way, guys, we'll get to Rose. Absolutely, Kathleen. For you anything. Real quick, wanted to comment on something. I threw out a message to the Harmony One team. They came out with a video just today on AI and Harmony One, and I sent them a message and I said that I appreciated the updates on the project, but I felt at the same time that the videos, the way that the interview is conducted with Steven, the founder of Harmony One, I felt that the way those interviews are conducted, it's honestly just a little socially awkward. I was just straightforward and said that. And I said I think it would benefit the community tremendously if you would provide me an opportunity to interview Steven and just do a little bit more of a lively, value-added, educational interview. So we'll see what comes about from that. I threw out doing something in mid to early August. I would love to interview him and ask him a whole host of questions and get him to speak about the project. I think it would be more value-added for the community than the video formats that they've been putting out recently. It just, as much as all community members appreciate the status updates, the interviews are just a little socially awkward, to be honest. So I thought maybe we could do something a little different for the team. Okay, or for the community. So for H-bar, one of the things I had commented on here, this is the strongest of the 3 altcoin setups I've spoken about. We got a higher low here, which is great to see. But guys, look, this is on the weekly. Damn, we got this downward resistance. We need to clear out of the downward resistance, right? So that's, for me, the major thing I'm looking for on H-bar is to clear this downward area of resistance. You know, I put out a video out there many months back that I see H-bar breaking into the top 20. Do I still see that happening? Absolutely, I still see that happening, okay? Now, if that happens this cycle and we do break into the top 20, that would suggest a very strong move from H-bar. We'll have to see if that happens. But for me, downward resistance here. Downward resistance. H-bar, by the way, is one of those projects that even if it doesn't break into the top 20, if you were to ask me, what are some of your holdings that you feel very comfortable holding for a longer term period, it would be H-bar would be in there. You know, you have some larger projects like your Bitcoin, your Ethereum. H-bar is in there for me. Fundamentally, I think it is extremely sound, and that's a project that I definitely feel comfortable holding for the long term. Not that I'm going to be, when we do hit euphoria, I am going to be selling the majority of everything, okay? That's because I believe we'll get much lower prices once we correct. But in terms of getting back into that project once it becomes overbought, absolutely. H-bar for the win, H-bar for the long term. Believe very much in that project. Anywho, getting back to the chart here, this is an area of resistance. Yeah, who asked this question? I'm sorry. Who was it, Frankie? AI bags. For me, AI bags, it's all about breaking this area of descending resistance here. And then, I mean, I clearly have all the areas of resistance laid out here. 6.2 cents, 8.4, 10, 10.8, 15.3. If we go in a smaller time frame, let's actually look at the price indicators real quick. This must have been on a different time frame. I was probably pointing to the 3-day. Yeah, something I was pointing out on the 3-day is that RSI has been increasing over time. There's actually some bullish divergence there that ended up playing out, actually. You can see the RSI was increasing as price was going down. That did play out. RSI is still increasing on the 3-day. If we look at the 3-day, it looks like we might want to start crossing back up to get a cross above the MACD, which would be very bullish to see. How about the weekly? What's good to see here, the histogram's going light right on the weekly. We're starting to flatten out. It'd be good to get a curl up this week if we could. Stochastic RSI looks good. We're above 20, which is our trigger line, 30 over 30, so we're neutral there. And the RSI is, yeah, it's increasing in value. It looks healthy. It's all about getting above. For me, it's about getting above the descending resistance here. It's the same thing for Harmony 1. It's the same thing for Decentraland, Mana. It's the same thing for a lot of projects. You have this downward resistance. These alts, guys, you have to understand. I drew out a very simple graph for you yesterday, essentially risk versus risk return. Wow. I drew out, no, what did I draw? I drew risk and time horizon, right? A couple concepts to keep in mind with a lot of these altcoins, okay? These altcoins have the potential to give you the greatest gains. It's going to be a lot quicker than you'll see in Bitcoin, though. You have to be swift about taking profits. They give you the greatest potential for gains, but what also comes with that added benefit of potential outsized gains relative to a Bitcoin or Ethereum? Downside risk, right? You're going to get harsher corrections, right? And the other thing I illustrated in a very simple XYZ graph, risk over time, okay? The riskier the asset, as the risk increases, it takes a greater amount of time to see that all-time high, right? The less risky the asset, like your Bitcoin and Ethereum, they're hitting all-time highs here. As time increases and the risk increases, it takes longer and longer for a lot of money to flood into those smaller projects, okay? That was something I had charted out yesterday. Let's get back to the charts here. Other questions I got. I can take a couple more looking at time. Kathleen had asked a question on Rose. I'm going to get to that one first, and then I'll try to get to a few others here. We're going to do a blank chart, which I really like doing. I feel like I haven't really done that a lot on the channel lately. Maybe that's because I was MIA last week for a lot of the week. Let's take a look at Rose. Whoop. Crypto. This is on a 3-day. We'll look at it on a weekly. Okay. I like the setup here. Nothing on the price indicators I want to talk. This is on the weekly, Kathleen, for Rose. The first thing I'd like to typically do when I'm looking at a chart is look for areas of support. There's an obvious area. I look more towards candle bodies. There's more significance in drawing areas of price confluence at candle bodies versus wicks, because what are wicks, guys? You know this by now. Wicks are an expression of volatility. So, oh, that's too beautiful not to paint. Every chart tells a story. This is an artistic creation. And not get too cute. Yeah, let's not get too cute here. So these are the major areas of support, Kathleen. It looks like, oh, this is on a market cap chart. I apologize. Let's get off that. I got to redo this. All right, let's do this again. Sorry. Apologies. It'll be funny if I draw these lines differently. Well, the market cap's going to look different than the USD price, so they will be different. I would draw major areas. Yeah, that's good. And there's really, not to get too cute, but there's really a zone right there. So Kathleen, you're looking at areas of support here. You have somewhat of a big gap here between 4.2 cents and 3.5 cents. But there's really this zone here. Ideally, I'd like to see this zone hold. This is really in the 4 cent area. So I really don't want to see Rose breaking down below 4 cents. Okay, that's what I would watch for. The other thing that's rather intuitive to me now that we're starting to look at areas of resistance, there's a descending area of resistance here, okay? Actually, let's make that black so it doesn't get too dirty because we're going to put areas of red resistance. This is an area of resistance, right? You can see we bounced here, here, and here. So we need to break that. Now, what other areas of price confluence for resistance? I would put an area right, this looks rather obvious to me, right about there. Red is for resistance, green is for support. I like that area right around there. These are the two main areas, and I'll give you one more. These are the main areas of resistance, Kathleen. So as soon as we break out above this descending area of resistance here, keep in mind it's not just breaking out above the descending area of resistance. We also have two horizontal lines here that are areas of resistance between 5.7 and 6.5 cents. So this whole area is going to be tough, right? If we can, well, not if, when we manage to bust through here, this 8.2, 8.1 cent area is going to be an area of resistance, okay? If you're looking to accumulate more, or you're looking for bullish confirmation, right, and you're looking to enter a trade, what I often say to people, okay, although this is more of an investment channel, and we have more of a long-term vision, but if you are looking to trade it, what I say is you can actually wait for bullish confirmation as we begin to approach this line here. You can always buy in a little below the line, a little above the line. You can actually wait for a clean break, and then what happens? Often, not all the time, but often we like to backtest descending resistance as support and continue moving up. So that's what I see on Rose. Kathleen, thank you for the question. What else we got here? Nick, this is a very common question. Should you mortgage your house on STX? No, I believe that what you should do is you should go to CoinMarketCap, okay? You want to come all the way down. You want to come all the way down here, and you want to go to section 103. Section 103 is really going to be where you're going to want to mortgage your house. And what I like to do often is I like to roll a dice, 20-sided dice. I pick a number, and then I might go with something like fucking Haku. Because Haku used to be a WWF wrestler, and I liked Haku. I thought he was a pretty good wrestler, right? So that's pretty much how I gamble, aka invest. It's the best financial advice I could ever give on this channel. Now, is this a serious question on charting? Let's see. Hey, I'll tell you what, Nick. You know what you're talking about, because this is a pretty good fucking setup. This setup actually reminds me, you know what it reminds me of? A couple other charts. This reminds me, actually going all in on Nutcoin. I could make so many inappropriate jokes right now that I'm going to refrain from doing. Trying to get this channel a little cleaner. I want to be a little bit more polished and professional. That shit's never going to happen. No, this is a really good setup. And you know what? It reminds me of a couple different charts that have a similar setup. The graph had this sort of similar setup here. And also MDT, measurable data token, that I've established a small position in. They've had similar moves up like this. The formation is very, very reminiscent of it. So let's take a quick look at this. I really like the setup on this. And I really like the setup on the graph, which is why I own a chunk of it. And I like the setup on MDT, which is why I own some of that too. Okay, as far as areas of support, this is going to be your zone, Nick. So your zone, stay in your zone, Nick. All right, stay in your zone. No, my zone here would be, actually I'll take the bottom just for volatility, but where does this thing stack? No pun intended. Oh, what's its market cap ranking? Come on, you can do it. It's that VPN slowing down my connection. Okay, it's at 42. Yeah, so you won't see as much volatility. But really, you have a whole plethora of areas of support here, really three main zones. I mean, we're sitting right now at 66 cents. Really, your main zones are going to be right in this box here. Okay, so anywhere between 62.5 cents all the way down to 44 cents. Main zone would be up here, quite honestly. Main zone would be in between like 62.5 to 53 cents. Now, how about areas of resistance? That would be my golden sort of, I like to do golden buy zones. That would be my golden buy zone. This is an orange box, same premise. Now, a couple things going on here. Again, rather intuitive. We have a descending area of resistance here. I personally would draw it like that. Why would I draw it like that? Why did I decide to draw it like that? Because it gives me 4 touches, actually. If I chose to draw it like this, is it valid? Of course it's valid. It's just there's only 2 touches, 2 price wicks. Here there's 4 touches, so I like the fact of drawing it like that. Now, what else is going on in this chart? Okay, I could show you areas of resistance, but I don't even know that it's worth it. We need to clear $1.33, okay? I think this is one of the more value-added things I could say about this chart. This is a flagpole. It's quite obvious. Okay? Right now, we have a pole, and you can see the volume. See how the volume peaked up here? The volume peaked, and now volume has been declining. That is, we've looked at this so many times on this channel. That is the typical profile for a bull pennant. Now price is consolidating in here. Now maybe we could, I got to clean this thing up, but maybe we're not as aggressive with the downward sloping line. Maybe we get something like this. But the point is, we had a huge rise in price, and now price is just consolidating, right? We could do something like that before we massively break out. Chart looks really great, Nick. I'm glad you brought this one up. I'm very quick to point out the charts that have me excited and the charts that people pull up like an ICP, like an the Internet Computer Protocol or whatever, ICP, that are kind of brutal. This one's a really nice looking chart. Looks like it's in the middle of a trend reversal to the upside. I would love to accumulate anywhere in this area. This is where I would be accumulating, okay? Anywhere for me personally, I would actually extend this the more I think about it now that I've drawn this out like this. Anything really, and you can catch the drift here. So anything really in this area, anything between like 62.5 cents all the way down to like it looks like 47 cents, I would be buying, in my opinion. I would be curious to know your levels. Are your levels on my level? Are we all on the same level? Yeah, I noticed that. Thank you for the feedback. Pulled up the market cap. What other charts do we have? NXRA. You a fan? I'm not even familiar with the project, to be honest with you, Frankie. I'll tell you what I can do. You're welcome, Kathleen. I'll tell you what I can do. Nick, I didn't even see you there. Pump Nick's bags, man. If you don't know now, you know. You can finish the rest of that line if you know the song. NXRA would be inappropriate for me to finish that line. There's not a lot of price data here. This one's kind of hard to chart, to be honest with you, just because there's not a lot of price data. Is there another? Oh, we've looked at this before. Look at this. Look at this. We haven't looked at this in a while. And I love when I pull up a chart we haven't looked at in a long time. So I'm not changing anything with the areas of price confluence because I put these in here for a reason. Look at that. We haven't charted in a while. You know what's funny about this is I know we haven't looked at this in a while. And look what we did. We probably haven't looked at it since, I don't know, maybe we started breaking out above here. But look what we did, if that's true. You can actually see there's some more perfect correlation right here in price. I mean, come on, look at that. Tell me that TA doesn't work. Look at the wick right here. The wick. There's strong resistance at 8.1 cents. Guys, when we came up here, we got not surprisingly rejected right in this region. It's not surprising. So the way I'm looking at this right now, we could potentially be in the middle of a trend reversal to the upside. What I want to see, though, is if we come down and we back test this area one more time, I want to see this area hold here between 6 cents, okay, 6 to 6.2 cents. I want to see that hold. And then I want to crush 8.1 cents like everyone is crushing the thumbs up right now. I want to crush 8.1 cents. And now you can see I have other areas of resistance here. I got 8.8, 9.5, and then 10.5 cents. Once we start to clear 10.5 cents, we have a blue sky breakout. Technically, there's a wick here. This wick, think about what the story is there at 11.5 cents. The story is there's only one candlestick going up to that area. If I go to a daily, yeah, there's one wick going up here. This area here is nothing. Once we start getting up towards 10.5 cents, we should punch through this area and probably back test somewhere in here and then continue going higher. So we could have a blue sky breakout sooner rather than later. Thank you for asking the question on this one. Yeah, just not familiar with the project, Nick. There's so many projects out there and only so much time to devote to... and quite honestly, like when I think about it, how do I spend my own personal time? I don't know about you guys in this space. How do I spend my time? I would say the majority of my time spent is charting. This channel is all in the charts, right? So most of my time spent is charting, number one. Number two, I would say my time is spent listening to other people in the space and their views on charts. But even more so than charts, I would say more of my time and energy is spent to people's views on crypto, fundamentally crypto, the economy, interest rates, things like that, really trying to understand how economic cycles work more. So just educational, more fundamental stuff. And then third would be like researching crypto projects, right? So that's kind of how I spend my time. A lot of the projects I'm familiar with, but I haven't spent a lot of time recently researching a ton of other projects. Guys, I think that is going to do it. I wanted to thank everyone for tuning in. Make sure if you haven't already, click the bell icon so that you receive all notifications to know when I go live. Like I said, every weekday I go live charting. I take your questions, as you can see. The biggest part of what makes this channel fun is when I get to interact with you guys and you have charting questions for me. So I really appreciate it. Make sure you click all notifications to know when I go live. But I typically go live every single weekday between 5 and 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Friday's the only day that varies. If I actually have a social life on Friday and I go out, then I will typically live stream earlier in the day. Don't let it fool you, though. Even if I live stream earlier in the day, I may not have any plans and I may be at home charting and listening to fundamental discussions concerning the economy because I do that quite often. So, all right, guys, have a good evening. If you appreciated the content, make sure to share it with at least one person. Thank you to each and every one of you who showed up. Until next time, spread awareness and carry the education forward. Take care, guys.